justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Now when you let down a wall, it's all about love. But when you tear down a wall, it's about justice. Building bridges, crumbling walls, it's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Here we go. What's it all about? Oh, what's it all about? It's all about love. What's it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in this world. Now when you share your thoughts with me, it's all about love. But when people agree to disagree, that's about justice. The freedom to speak. Good, on cue there, little dog. Let's do that again.
All right, this is the annual Pride Celebration weekend, and we're here in Missoula for the second time in a row, and PFLAG is here. I'm with PFLAG, and we're doing support work for the parade. The parade should get underway in just a few minutes. So, and after that, we're going to have a rally, several speakers, some music, and a lot of workshops focusing on issues of politics and help for the gay community. So thank you.
I'm David with the Montana Gay Men's Task Force, and we're here today supporting Pride and hopefully helping educate some of the folks about HIV, STD, and health and wellness. And we've been doing this work for 12 years now. So doing retreats, workshops, summits, and we're doing Gay Bingo today, so it's going to be a fun workshop. Hopefully lots of laughter and games and prizes. So we're excited, and it's a great day for Gay Pride.
So this is Pride Celebration.
2004, Missoula, Montana.
Yeah. So listen, we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing here. We have been gathering for what? 6 months, 7 months?
Yep.
Planning this event, which is an annual event that happens. This is the 10th year in Montana that the GLBT queer community is coming together to celebrate with pride who we are. And this is our second year in a row with Missoula.
This is an exciting year because it's all volunteer-based with a lot of support from our sponsors and our advertisers. But this is the year we're trying to figure out where we go next, how to build community, not only just for this event, but statewide, year-round wide. What can we do to have fun and put people together?
Wear a hat.
Wear a hat.
And stuff. So you know what? On this year, it's really exciting. You look at this. I mean, if you can, this is huge. We've got 27 tables full of resource folks who want to come here and support us, who are supportive of the GLBT community, who want to give us information, share information, talk with us. I mean, this is amazing this year. We're packed. We're going to fill this place all day long. We're going to be here in Missoula. In Missoula.
We have 12 major sponsors. We have over 50 advertisers.
Yeah.
We
have folks here from all over the state: Billings, Helena, Butte, Bozeman.
We've heard Plentywood, we've heard DC, we've heard Seattle, Spokane, Missoula crowd.
Yeah.
Of course, Butte, Bozeman.
And besides this being that time of community, that time of, saying we're proud to be who we are, it's also a time of information. We will be addressing some of the current legislative issues that are coming up. We'll be addressing some of the health problems we need to be aware of. So it's about a responsible time as well. We're going to play, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to address those issues that, that we need to be aware of. Our community and all communities, so it's, and it's embracing everyone. I think the other thing that's really important this year is that we have all of these straight communities, to churches, organizations who are walking with us and supporting. I mean, that's just awesome. Where else?
That's it. We just want to thank everybody for coming. We want to thank the weather and the tents and outstanding volunteers.
And I'm going to one more thing. MCATs, you know, taping this and being here and part of it is such a gift to us. I think there's one other gift I think is really important, and that's the Wilma, which is our local association here. They have donated everything so far as the whole use of their space. So all these donations are really important, and it really talks about the Missoula community and that they are here supporting, you know, the entire community. Not, you know, it's the GLBT community, it's the queer community, it's the youth, it's the adults, it's the senior citizens. They're supporting all of us, and that's a gift. You know, so I'm certainly proud to be here.
As the organizations, talk about the court.
And you know, the big thing is too, with all that, we had to make sure that this event was financially successful, as we're a new entity starting up. And it's been amazing with all the sponsorships and advertising. We're almost in profits and haven't even started. So
We're grateful. Thanks, MCAT.
My name's Miha, and I'm the project coordinator for Montana Queer Youth Action Coalition. We're here on the lovely Pride Celebration Parade Day to celebrate diversity, community, and queer youth. Come out wherever you are.
God loves everybody equally.
any other states? Where are everyone? Massachusetts. Yeah, way to go, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is leading the way. Helena. All right, have I missed anyone? Iowa. Great Falls. Anyplace else? Illinois. Okay. We are everywhere, aren't we? And we are here today celebrating pride in who we are, celebrating pride in family, in our community, in just in simply who we are. So we're going to start the day off with, first of all, let me say Missoula welcomes all of you. We welcome you here to our town, to our community, and hope you enjoy it, throughout the day. Over the past few years, last 10 years, Pride has been the sponsor and the coordinator for our Pride celebration. This year, Pride celebration is a new entity. But on behalf of Pride, we have Casey Charles, who is a board member, to welcome you here to Missoula and our event.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome the sun. And from Carl Olson, our fearless leader and the Pride Board, I bring greetings to each of you at this year's Pride celebration. Thanking the organizers like Carol and volunteers for their long and hard hours they have put into this event. Let's give them a round of applause. Today, it seems to me, is a special day of celebration, and we as GLBTI people and their supporters have mountains to be thankful for. The nullification of sodomy laws by the Supreme Court, the brilliant decision of the Massachusetts court defending our right to be equal citizens, and the courageous move of the mayor of San Francisco and other civil servants like our county commissioner to treat us with fairness and equality in conjunction with the benefits and burdens of health benefits and civil marriage have lifted the spirits of queers across the nation. And regardless of how you may feel about domesticity and the checkered history of matrimonial alliance, the fight to obtain the same rights as other citizens is one that highlights the importance of the dignity which the Montana Constitution guarantees us. Yet, in spite of these climactic comings, we who live in the state of Plata y Oro still have toxins to clean up. With celebration and uncloseting comes the responsibility of standing up for our community. We live in a state where our U.S. senators and our potential governors refuse to endorse same-sex partnership. A state where focus on the family, whose leader Bush met with in Colorado Springs recently, is actively campaigning to amend Montana's constitution to ban same-sex marriage and enshrine discrimination. Can a constitution, I ask you this, can a constitution stand that calls for queer apartheid? The only way to prevent facing this question is to decline to sign and to work to defeat that initiative. Many of us live in a city, Missoula, here we are, where the only daily newspaper refuses to publish our marriage announcements alongside heterosexual marriages. Okay. A city where the mayor refuses to protect us from discrimination in the workplace to provide our partners benefits. A state where the Board of Regents continues to stubbornly refuse to let us pay into an already flawed health insurance program. A city where the police department and the DA's office has botched an arson investigation and publicly made our organization's director a person of interest, and more recently has covered up an inquiry into the death of Jennifer Pate, whose body was found in Patty Canyon. The indignity of these actions violates our rights as Montana citizens. And in my view, each of us should be indignant in the face of them, in spite of our celebrations today. As much as I would like to avoid thinking locally on a day when we wish to celebrate our global advances, I ask you to pay attention to what is taking place in our progressive little hamlet and the other hamlets in Montana, in this very rocky mountain state. My friends, we have mountains to celebrate, but we also have mountains to climb. My heart and thanks goes out to all of you.
So as we continue on today, I want to make some comments. The first one is, we've got chairs up here. If you want to come on closer and sit up here and sit down for a while, because we're going to have some dancing later on. You may want to sit right now, okay, while we do all this. We have a number of sponsors that sponsor our Pride celebration here. And an ongoing sponsor in our community and throughout the state of Montana is PFLAG. On behalf of PFLAG, yeah. It's PFLAG out there who is helping us keep our parade safe. PFLAG were the marshals. They have put up the barricades and that. So we want to give a round of applause to PFLAG. And here to talk with us today is Karen Lowe. She's the co-director of the Missoula PFLAG.
I think my co-chair is still out there picking up barricades and stuff. And I am so glad that he's doing that and not me. I'm glad to be here, and we're glad to help get this parade on the street. I'm the proud mother of, most of you know, and some of you don't, that our straight son is now our lesbian daughter. We're the proud parents of a transsexual daughter who is now living has been living in Chicago for some time. Chicago is a city that has wonderful supportive laws on the books for the gay community and now also for the transsexual community. She is able finally to have a permanent job where she can have job protection and get on with her life and her transition. There's a very small portion of areas in the United States where that can happen. Her community feels safe, but the other night earlier this year, I picked up a Southern Poverty Law Center intelligence report. Just before I was going to bed, I made the mistake of opening it up to a page that talked about the head of the psychology department at Northwestern University was surreptitiously using transsexual people to support his right-wing think tank scientific agenda. He has since lost that position. And my daughter's partner, who was going into gender studies, was thinking of working in that department. It was scary to her. To me, it was like finding a rattlesnake in the bed of my child, to find that think tank in a supposedly safe community. I want to also speak to the point that the Southern Poverty Law Center this year has recognized that transsexual people have been the victims of the #1 hate crime in the nation. There is now a count occurring of recognized murders, recognized hate crimes, murders against transsexual people in this country at the rate of about 2 a month. That is a horrendous figure when you consider the small portion of the community that is indeed transsexual. That is a huge, staggering figure. We need their support of the gay community more than ever.
challenges, issues come to your community, we hope you will respond in support of them. And we will be, PFLAG will always be there for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, PFLAG, for all the support. You know, events like this today, our Pride celebration requires a lot of supporters and a lot of sponsors. And I want to talk about one very special supporter today, and that's the Wilma Theater. The Wilma Theater, they're a local, you know, business here in town, and they have donated all of their space today for the use for us to have our entertainment, our workshops, and everything. Isn't that great? So a round of applause to the Wilma Theater. You know, and another sponsor we've had year after year is the Planned Parenthood. The Intermountain Planned Parenthood has given us, you know, donations financially, and they are here, they show up, they support our activities. And today, from our Missoula group, we have Beth Cogswell. She's the developmental director here.
When I woke up this morning and saw the sun shining after the weeks of rain we've had, I thought, if there is a God, she must be on our side. Planned Parenthood is very proud and happy to be a sponsor, again, of this year's Pride Rally. I feel it's important to share with you a resolution that our board recently approved. This resolution was approved in light of the proposed constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, and I'd like to read it to you now. Intermountain Planned Parenthood opposes efforts to limit the privacy interests of same-sex couples or to limit their civil rights. We advocate an end to inequality and discrimination that are barriers to realization of the right to make private reproductive decisions. We trust individuals to make responsible choices. We support loving families in all of their relationship forms, and we work to ensure that they are strong and secure. Although we might not share all of the tactics and strategies in our work, I believe we share the following principles, and I decided to spare you. There's 6 principles. I think I'm going to read you one. The idea that it is immoral to engage in sexual activity for the purpose of pleasure or outside of a heterosexual civil marriage leads to policies that undermine our democracy, our right to privacy, and our freedom to choose the direction of our lives. It also weakens what should be an unbridgeable divide between church and state. I hope that we can continue to stand together and work for human rights, and that for years from now, all people, no matter what their sexual identity, will be accepted and respected as they should. I just wanted to also say that we anticipate more anti-choice bills in the upcoming legislature. It's just a given. And we certainly would be happy to have you help us as well when we ask you to call or to write your legislatures. And thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Beth. You know, Montana has a lot of singer-songwriters, but in our community, we have a very special one from Big Timber. I think all of you know Judy Fiel. Let's welcome Judy Fiel.
Thank you, and I've been rounding up musicians. Beth Youngblood will be with me today on violin, and Pamela Stoneham on vocals. And thanks to Steve and Derek for adding a few sound possibilities for us today. Okay, good in there? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I can hear the words are rumbling. Destruction is upon us. I can hear the people whisper. The signs are everywhere. And there's an air of fear and sadness to so many conversations. There are questions that linger. There are questions that haunt us. There are questions in our lives. Where are you standing? Where are you standing? Are you standing on the side of fear? Do you close your heart to others when differences appear between you? Where are you standing? Do you shout so only you can hear? Or do you listen to the beat of the world? Sing it next time around with us, will you? Okay, here we go. Now I knocked upon your door, and no, you did not answer. You looked from behind your curtain, and then you turned away. Did you do that to me, or did you do that to Jesus? I hope this question lingers. I hope this question haunts you. This question in your life. Where are you standing? Where are you standing? Are you standing on the side of fear? Do you close your heart to others when differences appear between you? Where are you standing? Do you shout so only you can hear? Or do you listen to the beat of the world? And you knocked upon my door, and neither did I answer. I did not clothe or feed you, but I could not turn away. Did I do that to you? Would I have done that to Jesus? Oh, this question lingers. Oh, this question haunts me. This question in my life. Where are you standing? Are you standing on the side of fear? Do you close your heart to others when differences appear between you? Where are you standing? Do you shout so only you can hear? Or do you listen to the beat of the world? Not done yet, cause the warning bells are sounding as they do not trust the others. I close my ears to your cries. You shut your eyes to mine. And if no one makes a move, are we destined to be statues with only the past to linger, only the past to haunt us, only the past instead of life? Here we go! Where are you standing? Are you standing on the side of fear? Do you close your heart to others when differences appear between you? Where are you standing? Do you shout so only you can hear? Or do you listen to the beat of the world? Let's go, Beth! Beth Youngblood, let's give her a hand. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear. And maybe God knows why. Or maybe it's just that love has put her hand upon my shoulder. I pray that love will linger. I hope that love will haunt us. I pray for love in all of our lives. Here we go! Where are you standing? Are you standing on the side of fear? Do you close your heart to others when differences appear between you? Where are you standing? Do you shout so only you can hear? Or do you listen to the beat of the world? Are you listening to the beat of the real world? Are you living for the future of this world? Oh yeah! it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. You sing that with me. Here we go. What's it all about? It's all about love. What's it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Now when you let down a wall, it's all about love. But when you tear down a wall, it's about justice. Building bridges, crumbling walls, it's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Here we go. What's it all about? Oh, what's it all about? It's all about love. What's it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in this world. Now when you share your thoughts with me, it's all about love. But when people agree to disagree, that's about justice. The freedom to speak. Good, on cue there, little dog. Let's do that again. Oh, the freedom to speak. And when you want them, are they there? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Here we go. So what's it all about? No, too late. It's all about love. What's it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. You want to do one, Beth? Go ahead. Let's see what happens. Thanks, Beth. Now when you take your lover's hand, it's all about love. But when two people say I do, it's about justice. Marriage for us gay folks, it's about love and justice and the way we all live in the world. Last time, so what's it all about? It's all about love. What's it all about? It's about justice. What's it all about? It's about love and justice and the way we all live. It's a way we can all live. It's a way we can all live in this world. Thank you so much, and I like the acclaim from the front row. Be back for one more song at the end. Thank you very much for being here today.
So what's it all about? I'll tell you, one of the things that will make us help make a change is for you to take a look at the Montanans for Families and Fairness Decline to Sign petition. Please look for the folks who are walking around with this petition and sign it. We do not want the amendment, the proposed amendment on our to our Constitution on the upcoming ballot. Please sign this petition, okay? Look for the folks who are walking around with this. Here's a vote right know, this is a lot about diversity. Diversity comes in all different ways, you know, our own sexual orientation, you know, our ethnic groups, and we all have different cultures. Today we have Sam Burton Brown. He's from Missoula and from Lodge Grass to talk to us about Two Spirits. So let's all welcome Sam.
My name is Sam Burton Brown. That is my English name. My Crow name, I'm from the Apsalagan Nation here in Montana. That's the Crow tribe of Indians. And my given birth name is Sacred Feather. And I'm here to speak to you on what it is to be a two-spirited person within my people. The Two-Spirit Society is a very small community within our tribes. There's really no way to describe or even say what we are to our people. We are very, I have no idea how to describe what and where we come from. My people have been around for years, and to be a two-spirited person within my nation is a huge thing. It's an honor, it's a respect that we're raised with. And I have a poem here that I'm going to read that I wrote that will give some kind of understanding of what it is to be a two-spirited person, and it's called Living with Two Spirits. When you look into my eyes, what do you see? It's hard to tell, isn't it? Let me tell you why that is. Some people say that the eyes are windows to the soul. My soul has no windows. To look into my soul is to love me, fear me, respect me. I can tell you what you will see. To experience my being is another thing. It may be dangerous, but so is falling in love. Clear your mind. Take away all the rules and boundaries. Picture a man and a woman without faces. There I am. Complete opposites put together in one body. Separate personalities speaking with a single tongue, sharing the same heart, using the same mind. To understand me is to go before there was time, back when the Creator made my kind. A gift that has no price, only responsibility. To exist is to surrender my own desires. My strength is in my spirit. My love lies within my touch. My tribulations lie within myself. Every day is beautiful. Every day is a challenge. I'm the one who conquers my enemies. I'm the one who takes care of my people. There is no end to me. Thank you. And to be a two-spirited person, it is a huge responsibility and a huge respect within my people. I don't identify as being a gay person. I was raised very traditionally within my tribe, and we do not take on Western terms and all that. We have our own language, we have our own way of living, and that was the way I was raised. And the two-spirited people, we were raised not to fear who we are, and that is one of the things that I would like to pass on to everybody here is you are not to be afraid of who you are or where you come from. And you need to embrace yourself, you need to embrace your people, your community. That is where the bonds are. That is when the bonds get tighter and your community grows. And my people are very supportive of everything that I do. And my generation of two-spirited people are starting to uprise, I guess you would put it that way. The older generations were pushed back a lot. The older two-spirited generations were pushed back a lot by everybody. And I mean everybody, not just the whites or blacks or gays. They were pushed back by everybody, and it's kind of up to my generation right now to bring this all about, to let everybody know what we are and who we are. And it is a challenge, but we're not giving up. There's a handful of us here in Montana, the Montana Two-Spirit Society, and we're really trying to make an effort to let people know that we're here, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. And that's it. Ahogaji.
You're going to find Sam's name in your program because he's doing a workshop later on amongst our workshops on Two Spirits. So please, note that in your program. One of the things coming up, it is about, not standing in fear. And our Pride celebration is a way to step up to the plate and say, no, I'm not afraid. It not only happens here in Missoula, but it also happens in Spokane. I want to let you know that tomorrow is Spokane's Pride Day. They're going to do what they're referring to as the Giant Drum Corps, by the way, will be there. And they're going to have, their pride is about is love and equality, and they're going to have the wedding of the year in Spokane tomorrow at 1 p.m. So if you're in Spokane, go to that wedding. You're all invited. Also Seattle Pride happens in the month of June as well. And we're very lucky today to have Frank with us. Frank is with the Seattle Pride Committee. He does festival logistics, but he's also with Interpride, Region 2, of which we are a member. Let's all welcome Frank from Seattle.
Thank you for having me today. First, I need to get a picture to prove to everybody on the West that there's more than 8 of you here. As I prepared for my trip here, I was telling people at work that I was going to Missoula, and they're like, why are you going there? And it's like, well, it's Montana Pride. And they're like, well, there's only 8 of them. But I can say I'll go back and report there is a very thriving community here. And I thank you all for having me here to be a part of it. Not many people know or realize what Interpride does. Interpride is an international organization that brings together pride communities from all over the world. In that, they set up regions, which we're part of Region 2, which comprises Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. Within that region, the regional directors network with groups, and they start a networking so that those groups can take and share information to build their events and help them grow. Also to help new communities that are just starting their first prides. I've been fortunate enough this year to travel around to several events, here being one of them. Next year I'll continue that. And I just want to say congratulations for having such a big and great event, especially since you're pulling a whole state together. It's one thing to do a little town or a community, but to do it for a whole state is quite a big success. Give yourselves a hand. And I would just encourage all of you to go throughout your life. I realize, I'm from Seattle, and it's can be so much like a different planet compared to living here in the country. As I flew in, I saw the mountains and that, and I thought, you know, that's really nice. Seattle, all I get to see is skyscrapers everywhere and traffic. So I just want to say thank you for having me. Have a great day, and keep up the good work here in Montana.
Thank you, Frank, and be sure to visit Frank over at the Seattle Pride table. You know, there's a lot happening today. We have workshops. We're going to have a beer garden set up here. We're going to have dancing. We have entertainment tonight. And I'm hoping to see how many of you have the yellow bracelet. You know, all of us folks who are taking part in this thing, we bought our whole passes. Come on, let's see the weekend passes. You got any? Where's the purple? Where's the purple? Yay! So you can get passes down at the registration table, get a purple banner, you know, purple wristband says we're all here, we're doing the same thing. I also want to say that we have programs down there, and in your program it lists the various workshops, it lists where things are going to be, as well as I want to say that on Sunday we've been invited to attend a variety of different churches here who welcome in our GLBT affirming communities. But I want to make a correction on one. The Unitarian Universalist Church is listed as having a potluck from 5 to 7 p.m. Well, it's actually 6 p.m. And then they're going to have a service or a speaker, and that starts at 7:30. And the person who's coming is Reverend Lois Van Leer. Reverend Lois is an out lesbian in their community. So if you want to hear her, please join the Unitarian Universalist Church tomorrow evening. They're inviting us, all right? You know, in a little bit, we're going to have Christine Kaufman come up. She's our keynote speaker. But I think we need to give her a really loud celebration, a loud announcements. And one way to do that is with the giant-ass drum corps. Don't you think we should have them back, okay? All right. Come on, giant-ass drum corps. Here they are. Representing all of us since January of 2001. She's about to enter into her third term. We got to support her. Please, go down and visit her table for Christine Kaufman. She's also the co-director of the Montana Human Rights Network, and she's the co-sponsor of this year's Pride celebration. Let's welcome Christine Kaufman.
Hi, thank you very much for being here today. This is a great Pride celebration here in Missoula, as it is always. You know, they asked me to be the keynote speaker this time. Usually I speak at the rally and I do about 3.5 minutes of punchy stuff and people yell back and forth. But when they said keynote, I thought I need to give a more thoughtful and challenging kind of presentation. And they told me I should talk for 20 minutes to a half hour. So I do have comments that are sort of like a speech. I hope that that fits your mood today and that at least some of you can take some time to listen to what I have to say. I do think it's important. And I would like for you, first of all, to imagine a nice, clean, official-looking copy of the Montana Constitution. It's laid out in an exhibit case, a glass exhibit in the rotunda of the Capitol. It's one of those great big copies of the Constitution, and it has a big flowery letter W at the beginning, you know, one of those sort of ancient script kinds of things, if you can just imagine that. And the W, of course, leads to the opening of the Constitution. We, the people of Montana, grateful to God for the quiet beauty of our state, the grandeur of our mountains, the vastness of our rolling plains, and desiring to improve the quality of life, equality of opportunity, and to secure the blessings of liberty to this and future generations, do ordain and establish this Constitution. And it's laid out there as though it's the most precious document in all the land. And indeed it is. And then you switch to the next frame, and you imagine shards of glass where a vandal has busted into the display case and not stolen anything at all, but taken a can of red spray paint and spray painted "No Queers." The paint, of course, is dripping and running down like the title film in a horror show. And it's just starting to cover up Article 2, Section 3. But you can make it out. You can read it faintly there. It says, all persons are born free and have certain inalienable rights. And they include the right to a clean and healthful environment, the rights of pursuing life's basic necessities, enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and seeking safety, health, and happiness in all lawful ways. But the paint is running down and it's moving on to Section 4. You can still read it. It says, the dignity of the human being is inviolable. No person shall be denied equal protection of the laws. And it's clear that it's only a matter of time until the meaning of the document is entirely blotted out for all people who have found hope in its words. This is not just a nightmare, of course. This is happening in Montana today. It's happening across this country, state by state. For the past couple of months, I've been part of a steering committee working to defeat this attempt by right-wing Christian conservatives to scrawl graffiti across the Constitution. And I know that many of you were at the polls last Tuesday asking our good neighbors not to scratch their names in the graffiti. You know, we're doing them a favor really, because think how embarrassed they're going to be about it in 10 years. We all feel that way about that old graffiti. But this is what we're saying to our neighbors. Our Constitution is too precious. Montanans may hold a variety of opinions about marriage, about civil rights, about gay and lesbian people in their communities, but the Constitution should not single out any one group of people to deny them their civil rights. Thank you. Constitutions are meant to recognize and protect individual human rights, not to take them away. Now think about it. Should the majority ever be allowed to vote on the human rights of a minority group? Should there have been a vote, for example, 50 years ago about whether the Constitution should be amended to prohibit blacks and whites from marrying? You know, that was never in the Constitution. The prohibition was in our laws. It was custom. It didn't happen. it couldn't be done. Black and white people couldn't be married until one state stepped forward and said, this isn't right. And that was the state of California in 1948. Now, for a long time after that, there was a patchwork of different laws in different states. This is exactly what's happening, you guys. There was a patchwork around there. In some states it was legal for blacks to marry whites, in other states it wasn't. They were in some sort of legal limbo. If they moved to Montana, maybe their marriage wasn't recognized. This has happened before. It wasn't until 1967 in Loving versus Virginia that the U.S. Supreme Court declared marriage is a civil right, and it nullified all state bans prohibiting interracial marriage. So this is a perfect example of where the Constitution was used to protect a basic human right. Now, what would have happened in, say, 1954 if they had passed an amendment to the Constitution banning interracial marriage? Well, this country would have gone through a very embarrassing period of time in front of the world community trying to retract what it thought was important 20 years ago. So I think we need to think about this. And did you know that it was only the year 2000, not very long ago, that the last state finally took their interracial marriage ban off the books? The year 2000. They thought it was important to keep this ban on the books because, you need to send a message about these things. Well, have we ever heard that before in Montana? That's exactly the same language that the state legislature uses to retain the deviant sexual conduct law here in Montana that makes private consensual activity illegal in Montana. But in the year 2000, not only did it take that long to remove the last ban to interracial marriage, 40% of the people voted against it. Over 40% of the people of Alabama voted against removing that law from the books just 4 years ago. Constitutions are meant to protect individual rights, not to take them away. Constitutions are meant to limit government, not to limit people. And so that's why I think this is a critical time of opportunity. Because everybody who's not in power right now, which is really almost all of us, every group who doesn't have access to the decision-making chambers, every group who feels passionately about our right to a clean environment, our freedom from intrusion by the government, our right to reproductive choice, our right to adequate housing, our rights to an honest wage for a hard day's work, and that is pretty much all of us, need the protections of this Constitution. And when one of us is attacked, we are all attacked. So this is a time of opportunity. It's a time to build bridges with all those folks that need the Constitution, that are ever going to need the Constitution. And that pretty much guaranteed is every one of us here, every one of us in this state. I've been talking about human rights and civil rights, and I would like to spend a little bit of time defining more clearly what they are. I know this is very basic, but I do think we need to review that the language we have to frame these very important concepts in this crucial time. Because let me tell you folks, these time-honored concepts like human rights and civil rights are being turned on their head. They are being made to mean the exact opposite of what they mean. So going back just a little bit, tremendous strides forward were made during the era of the Black Civil Rights Movement in terms of our social evolution. And there is now a very deliberate attempt to roll back the gains of the Civil Rights Movement. It starts with a deliberate muddling of civil rights concepts with the intention to keep us divided, to keep all of these groups separate from each other, denying our interests in each other's concerns. This is not new, of course, been going on for at least a couple of decades here, but it needs to be confronted now or we're going to lose our constitutional democracy. So, what are human rights? Human rights are often referred to as inalienable rights. These are the rights that you just possess because you are a human being. Some people call them God-given rights. They cannot be taken away. You always have them with you. Of course, they can be infringed upon, they can be ignored, they can be trampled on by people with power, but they can't really take them away because you own them. That's what human rights are. The right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've heard of these before. Now, constitutions are the written acknowledgement of those rights, and they are designed to protect those rights from being infringed and trampled and stamped upon. Then there's, of course, besides constitutions, there's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was an attempt by the world community to step in on those times when governments don't even follow their own constitutions, when they trample on the rights of their own citizens. And even though a great American headed up the commission that wrote the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Eleanor Roosevelt, and even though we've signed on to this document, we ignore major sections of it all the time in this country. For example, economic human rights, the right to a job that pays a living wage, the right to adequate health care, the right to basic food and shelter. And we should just wait in this country until we have a movement for economic human rights, a movement that takes down the power of corporations. That's going to be some kind of human rights movement. So anyhow, that gives you an idea of what I mean by human rights. Now, civil rights, then, are the laws that are put into place to protect those human rights, because they need to be protected, and they are the guarantee that we'll all be treated equally under those laws. And so when we begin to recognize that there are groups of people out there, or individuals, that are not realizing the benefits of the Constitution, the human rights that are enumerated there, even though they're guaranteed, a civil rights movement is needed to secure those rights, to make sure that those rights are enforced for every group of people in the society. So blacks, of course, were not allowed to marry whites. They weren't even allowed to marry each other way back then. I mean, there was no legal recognition of their marriages at all. They weren't allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to share public accommodations. They weren't allowed to own and rent certain properties. I mean, we know this history. These prohibitions all violated the Constitution at the time. And they continued until civil rights laws were passed that were protected. And those laws were passed. But it's important to note that those laws did not create any special new rights for black people. They simply protected existing rights that were being trampled on. So, and while we certainly have not erased bigotry against black people, those laws have set us on a path toward equality. So there's a little primer in human rights and civil rights according to Christine. But now let's talk about what our opponents say about civil rights, because you will see that it is very, very different. First of all, they say civil rights are special rights. They talk about them as though most of us don't have them or need them. They're just things out there for those people that are going to demand them. So they don't really exist, actually, until somebody says, I want my civil rights. And when someone demands their civil rights, then by definition, they are a minority group, and they have achieved some sort of a minority status. Our opponents then equate that minority status with things they have defined negatively, like affirmative action and quotas and people taking away the jobs we deserve. And so that becomes their way of talking about this minority status. But then they bring us around to the idea that in order to get these special civil rights, a group has to deserve them. So this, remember, of course, flies completely in the face of what civil rights are. They are not things you earn because you behave well. These are things you have already, and you have them just because you're human. But then how in their scheme of things does a group come to deserve their civil rights? Well, they accept their mantle of minority status, which they really have no control over after all. And so, you know, people with different colored skin, they can't really help their skin color. And that's why one of the reasons it's so important for them to hang on to this notion, completely irrelevant notion, that we choose our own sexual identity. Because they have to believe that we are choosing to behave this way. It's not something that we can't help. And the other way, of course, you come to deserve your civil rights is you behave well. You know, you become middle class, you don't do street drugs, you don't burn the flag, you behave well, and of course gay and lesbian people by definitions will never behave well. So it's not long at all. If you have this concept in mind that people earn their civil rights and they somehow get to deserve them, the question will inevitably come up, who gets to decide whether they get them or not? Well, this is a democracy, let's just put it up for a vote. And that's what you have going on right now, people actually voting on our civil rights. So, there you have it, civil rights, instead of a concept of laws that protect the essence of what it is to be human, have been turned into a popularity contest. And what are we going to do about that? Well, we in the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, and queer community are going to come to understand what is at stake here, and we are going to see that we are not in this fight alone, and we are going to build a multi-issue movement for human rights. So, we are not going to win this discussion only by talking about the Constitution, and so I think we also need to talk about civil marriage equality. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time dispelling three basic myths about civil marriage. First one, that marriage is religious. There are two different concepts here that I think, and we're mixing them up, and that clouds all of our discussions about this issue. One concept is civil marriage. Civil marriage, that's over here, civil marriage. It is the legal recognition that two adults have formed a family. It is a civil contract between those two adults to protect their home and their family. It conveys an array of rights and responsibilities, including access to health insurance coverage, guardianship of, decision-making for a spouse in injury, illness, and death, automatic inheritance rights, a fair method of dividing property in case the relationship ends. I know you don't usually think of divorce as a benefit of marriage, but it's a very big benefit of marriage. The responsibility of parenting, custody and welfare of children. In fact, there are 1,049 separate benefits, protections, and responsibilities extended to married couples in federal law. That's 1,049. You know, I really think married couples ought to go to a class and sign an informed consent to marry so that they really know what they're getting into. I mean, that's a lot. So that's one concept, is a civil marriage. The other concept is holy matrimony. Civil marriage, holy matrimony. They're not the same thing. Holy matrimony is a covenant before God and community, family, and friends about the intentions of two adults who have formed a family. It's a celebration of community support, a promise before God and the community to treat one another with love and compassion. Now, the government has nothing to do with holy matrimony. They really don't. The government cannot tell churches who they cannot provide this sacrament to. My sister, for example, was not allowed to be married by my minister because she was marrying a divorced man. It was legal to do. She, of course, found another minister. There are many churches out there that don't allow people of two faiths to marry. The government doesn't say you have to do that. The government is not involved. There are still churches that don't allow people of different races to marry. But the government also does not prevent churches from offering this holy matrimony to persons of the same sex. We can find churches that will marry us. The discussion here on the table is not about holy matrimony. It is about civil marriage It is about whether the government ought to have the right to discriminate between some pairs of adults and other pairs of adults. We have a separation of church and state in this country, and it's really quite ironic that those who profess disdain for that concept are well protected by it in this regard. It's also ironic that the country where we have this doctrine of the separation of church and state, we have so enmeshed the two when it comes to marriage, because we have given clergy the authority to formalize a civil contract during a religious ceremony. That was a dumb idea. I don't know how it ever got started. But in Europe, this doesn't happen. There's two different things, and you go do them. And I think we would clarify this whole debate if we would understand that what we're talking about here is civil marriage and not holy matrimony. That's the church's business. It should continue to always be the church's business. Okay. The second myth I want to talk about or try to dispel for you is that marriage is unchanged throughout history. This is, of course, just hogwash. You know, I understand a state legislator from Oregon stood up on the floor of the legislature and said, marriage in Oregon hasn't changed for 3,000 years. Now, I don't know how long Oregon's been a state. A little longer than Montana, maybe, but not 3,000 years. Marriage, of course, looks a whole lot different than it did just 1,000 years ago, for example, when children were regularly forced to marry, when daughters were sold to the highest bidder. It looks very different than it did just 200 years ago, when marriages were commonly arranged by either parents or matchmakers. It's different than it was 150 years ago, when the state of Utah was forced to rewrite its marriage definition before it was allowed to be a state in this country. And it's certainly different than it was 50 years ago, as I have already talked about, as regards black and white people marrying. Civil marriage has changed a great deal, and in response to exactly the same challenges and pressures it's facing right now, which is an evolving understanding of human rights and personal autonomy. To tell you the truth, I really can't keep up with heterosexual marriages, the changing face of heterosexual marriages. You know, some men order brides out of catalogs of Asian women, and some people marry and divorce in the course of about 12 hours. Some of them marry on TV for entertainment. Some of them compete in contests for people they don't even know. I mean, this is their sanctified institution. I think they have to clean it up before they invite me in, I'll tell you that. But seriously, all of those wacky kinds of heterosexual marriages still carry those 1,049 benefits and responsibilities and rights that are granted to any marriages legally in this country. Those rights that are denied to us. Okay, and finally, the third myth that I'd like to try to dispel is that marriages and families are somehow protected or defended by denying gays the right to marry. Well, I have this to say. There are many, many, many real threats to heterosexual marriage, and they are important, and they should be talked about, and gay marriage is not one of them. So our civil rights are put up as a public punching bag to really distract us from the real threats to marriage. And I think it's worth mentioning a few of those very real threats that they don't really want us to think about. And the top threat to marriage on my list is poverty. Marriages have a terrible time surviving when the family cannot scrape together the resources to make their lives work. And our economy is simply not working for most of us. Poverty is a huge threat to marriage, and we should be worried about that. The second on my list of threats to marriages in this country is the abuse and neglect of children. You know, adults who are abused and neglected as children have a very difficult time developing the intimacy that is required to build healthy and functioning families. Marriages simply can often not survive this kind of personal struggle. And if we want to strengthen marriage in this country, we need to stop the abuse of children. The third threat to marriage that I see in this country right now is the war in Iraq. Let's just face it, it's pretty tough to make marriage work when one or both of the partners are being shot at. The emotional stress that this puts on children, the knowledge that your family is being asked to sacrifice for an immoral war, that we are fighting for a president who lied to us about the reasons for it, the potential that one member of the family might die because of this insanity, these are huge threats to marriage. So to have good, strong families, we need access to educational resources that equip us to be productive members of our community. Lack of educational opportunity is a threat to marriage. This country should be embarrassed about its dismal record of providing health care to its citizens. Every other developed nation has figured this out. Emergency health issues are always huge stressors on families, but with the skyrocketing costs, little hope for improvement. These episodes put families under. Lack of health care is a major threat to marriage. So the list goes on and on. Domestic violence, sexism, high debt, substance abuse. These are real threats to marriage. Why are we being asked to talk about gay rights as a threat to marriage? The fight against civil marriage equality is a carefully constructed and coldly calculated distraction from the real problems and the difficult public policy solutions that we ought to be working on. I think we will win the right to marry. I really do. I think we'll win it. But what good will that do us really if we win the right to marry and women lose the right to control our reproductive freedom? What good will it do if we win the right to marry and those in poverty lose the right to basic human dignity of adequate housing, food, and health care? What good will it do us really if we win the right to marry while workers lose the right to organize and the right to a decent pay for a hard day's work? What good will it do us if we win the right to marry and members of racial minorities continue to be arrested, locked up, and given the death sentence in disproportionate numbers? Because if we win the right to marry while we lose everything else, what will we have gained? Well, this is it. Those of us who are wealthy white male CEOs will rejoice in the new freedom to marry. Wow. And the rest of us will be fighting to keep our marriages from being torn apart by poverty and sexism and racism, just like heterosexuals are. So we will have achieved the wonderful equality of being treated equally as badly as everybody else. So what will Montanans be voting on our civil rights this November 2nd? Will our neighbors get to decide if we deserve these rights? We don't really know that yet, of course. The forces working against human rights were everywhere on Election Day. They were well organized in their intolerance and their bigotry. They have 6 more days to finish collecting the signatures, and then it'll probably take another few days until we figure out if they actually got their 41,000 signatures or not. That's a lot of signatures. I think it'll be a hard effort, but I think it's possible they'll get them. And that shows the work that's cut out for us. You know, we are on the ground, our effort is going. We met them at many polling places across the state. We asked our fellow citizens not to sign on to discrimination. On Monday, we're launching a statewide radio campaign with the help of Pride and many of your donations, again, to ask our neighbors not to sign on to discrimination. But whether this thing makes the ballot or not, we have our work cut out for us. It's important that we do not lose this momentum. We have a message to spread and a movement to build, a multi-issue movement to make sure that the promises of the Constitution are available to everybody in the state of Montana. I'm going to close here with the words of John Lewis. He's a U.S. congressman, a great civil rights leader who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. This is what he said: "I have heard the reasons for opposing civil marriage for same-sex couples. Cut through those distractions. They stink of the same fear and hatred and intolerance that I have known in racism and in bigotry. Some say, let's choose another route. Let's give gay folks some legal rights, but call it something else. Don't call it marriage. We have been down that road before in this country. Separate is not equal." And he concludes, "The rights to liberty and happiness belong to each of us on the same terms, without regard to either skin color or sexual orientation." Thank you very much.
Aren't we glad she's representing us?
I have one little story to tell. I talked to Bob Rainey recently, who is a candidate for the Public Service Commission, a good candidate, and he said he was down at a Central Committee in Lewistown, and he said, and I was done with my speech, and there was this woman that just, it was the question time, but she didn't have a question, let me tell you. She stood up and she said, "It's rare to get this many Democrats together in a room in Livingston, so I'm going to take advantage of it," and proceeded, this is Judy Fiel, to tell that crowd about the marriage amendment and their duty to tell their neighbors not to sign on to this amendment. So thanks to people like Judy doing this work.
It's big timber. 10 Democrats in the whole
Big timber. It wasn't living. It was big timber, Montana.
And on that note, let's welcome Judy back up here to sing another song.